It makes it so much easier to access the oil filter if you remove this passenger side front tire. The first thing you want to do is loosen the lug nuts before you jack it up. That way you're using the weight of the car to loosen those up. So I've got a 1/2 inch ratchet extension. This was a Harbor Freight, very inexpensive, and so what it does is it allows you to change the length of it, and that's good on something like this because it gives me plenty of torque where I don't have to use a breaker bar. I can use something like this to loosen my lug nuts. And also then I've got a 21mm socket made for wheels, and then I have keyed lug nuts on here where one of them on each wheel takes a special key. So I've got that with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen all the lug nuts. When I say loosen, all you're doing is breaking them free. So you don't wanna turn them multiple times or anything like that. Just enough to where you are, breaking them free. All right, so we're gonna jack up our 2019 Pilot. So in this vehicle, it's kind of way down in there. Your oil dipstick to check your oil is over on this side, this orange thing, but your oil fill cap is way down here. So you may want to take this off when it's on the ground because sometimes these are on super tight. This one was not, but I usually would do this on the ground. So it tells you right there, use a 0W20. I always follow whatever the manufacturer recommends. And then so dust and dirt don't get in our oil, I'm gonna rest that in there. But the reason that I loosen it and rest it is because you want air to flow when you're draining the oil. You want the oil to be able to come out. So I've got an impact gun. I don't use it really as an impact gun. I'm using it more as a drill because I've already loosened everything. So I've got my wheel socket on there, my 21mm, and we're just gonna remove this wheel. This is my key. Sometimes these are take a minute to get on there, right? This impact gun is worth getting out just to save time. After I get lug nuts started, I use it to snug them. I never use it to tighten them because it'll over tighten. I always use a torque wrench to tighten them at the end. We'll get to that later. But what we're gonna do now, since we're just doing the oil change, is we gotta set this tire somewhere anyway. And it's a common practice for a lot of people to set them under the car as kind of another safety measure if something were to fall. And I don't think we need that with the jack stands and the floor jack, but we got to set it somewhere anyway, so it makes sense to just set it there. So now what you'll see, if you're wondering if this is worth it or not, there's our oil filter right there. So now it's super easy to get to, and you'll see in the design of this huge support bar directly under the oil filter. And so the challenge with that is, one thing is it limits the type of oil filter wrench you can use because you got to fit it in there. So really a strap style is about the only thing I would recommend to use with this, where you put the strap on, and I'll show you that in a second. But the other thing is I'm going to be trying out a new product today, an oil filter funnel. So it'll funnel the oil hopefully into our drain pan and leave it off of this. So I always cut a little piece of plastic sheeting to cover that, and I'm still going to do that today, and maybe always will, but I'm also going to try out that funnel, and so we'll find out together if it works and how that works. So I'm gonna move my lug nuts aside since we're gonna be working in this area. I'm gonna move all my wheel stuff over here, and we'll wait on doing anything else with the wheels until our oil change is complete, so we can just focus on one thing at a time. Okay, so I got the plastic sheeting under here. Got it kind of draped over my floor jack so it covers everything, keep the driveway nice. And I mentioned I'll put a little piece of plastic sheeting over that crossbar. I just cut it off the plastic sheeting that I'm using. So I just grabbed some scissors and just cut me off a nice little piece. And then I just drape it over this crossbar underneath that oil filter. And by the way, I did run the car. I let the car idle so the engine would warm up before I started this job, just while I was getting some tools ready and everything. So our engine oil is hot. I'm just gonna kind of drape this around like that. It just helps, whatever drips off of there helps contain the mess. So now I'm gonna go get my pan that'll catch all of our oil. Okay, so the oil filter wrench I was mentioning looks like this. This is what I'm using. They come in different ranges of diameter. These Honda filters are really small. This is our new filter, just to kind of show you. So you put it on loose like that, and then as you turn it counterclockwise, it tightens up for you. So the range on this one is 2.375 inches to 2.825 inches, or 60.3 millimeters to 66.7 millimeters. I bought this off of Amazon many years ago, but that kind of helps you. This one's called a swivel gripper. That's the filter wrench I use for this vehicle. Also, the new product that we're using today, the new product I bought off of Amazon, is called a Fumoto flexible draining tool. It's a very simple concept on these cars where you loosen the oil filter. As soon as you loosen it, oil starts to drip out. Nothing you can do about it. You just turn it a couple turns, get away from it, just that oil that's in there, let it drip out. And so what this does is it comes flat in this package, and then it's got something inside, some sort of metal or something that allows you to form it, and it stays where you form it. It's very simple, and then it's made to wipe off. Can't remember if it's made out of silicone or what it's made out of, but it's very durable. So the idea is that I would get you don't have a lot of clearance in there. Most vehicles you do. So I would put my filter wrench on first, so that I know I can get it loose. And then I'm gonna take this and kind of shove it in there flat, and then see if I may not have enough downward room, but I'm gonna try it. So I'm gonna form it like that, and then I'll move my drain pan out here, and we will see how that works. First time doing it. All right, let's give it a shot. So I'm gonna loosen it now. Wait for the mess to come. Of course, I messed up. I put my filter wrench on the wrong way. I put it on in a way of tightening. So I want to loosen, so I want to put it on this way. So I'm going to turn that around. Put that in there like that. Okay, should drain right into my oil pan. So I start loosening. I should be getting a mess soon. Okay. Okay, I got it loose and I'm not getting anything, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to maybe get my wrench out. Oh, there's the mess. So I can't really get my wrench out, which is kind of not good. But anyway, I'm gonna see what happens if I keep loosening this filter. Once you get it loose, you can do it by hand. Be nice if I had room to get my wrench out of the way, but I don't, so that's no big deal. This really isn't a lot of oil. Most cars, this funnel would work very nicely in my CRV. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I will the next time, and I know it's going to work in there because I have plenty of room under the filter to guide it, unlike this one. But I think this is still working. This doesn't look like a lot of oil, but that's a lot of mess if it drips on your crossbars and such. I think our filter is off now. We're very close to being off. Yeah, there it is. So I'm going to keep this funnel there, kind of push it in while I'm pulling out on my filter. There's my filter. I'm going to turn it upside down right there. There's my filter wrench. And I think we're good. I'll go ahead and take these gloves off because the only oil that's dripped was off my glove onto my plastic sheeting. I'll take these gloves off, they're done. Grab a rag, get these couple of drops that came off my glove so I'm not rolling around in that later. I'm going to carry these gloves over to the trash can. So, got some new gloves on. You can tell by looking that the top of the funnel is clean, so that means that all of it should have gotten trapped in that funnel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that sit for a second while we prepare our new oil filter. So I got my new Honda oil filter here. One of the cool things about Hondas is they all take the same oil filter. No different sizes except for the Honda S2000, which they haven't made in many years. Okay, so I got my new oil filter here. So we always want to make sure on our old filter that the rubber ring came out with it, which it did, the black ring. And then on our new filter, we want to take our new oil we're about to put in, get our finger in that new oil, just get it on our glove, and then get a good amount on our black ring. Just kind of really seal it up good. Get that rubber ring coated with the new oil. Help it make a good seal. So, all right. So now we got that done. I'll put the cap back on until we're ready to add our oil in later. So now we're gonna remove that funnel. We're gonna wipe down the threads where our oil filter goes. So we're just gonna take this funnel and just set it in our drain pan like that. And what we have is a very clean job. So I'm just really wiping down the surface where the new filter meets the base. So just trying to wipe that down good. Let me grab the camera and I'll just kind of show you if you're not familiar. So right under here, see if I can see what the camera is looking at. Yep. So that's where our new filter goes, on these threads right here. That's the threads that goes in the middle. So just like this. And then you're just gonna wanna try to line it up by hand and just slowly get it started. So once you get it lined up, it's easy. And you just spin it on. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my plastic sheeting, get some of the stuff out of my way. Because what you do here, see, look how clean this sheet is. It just had a couple of minor marks on it like that from something. So that's definitely worth it, even on this car. But what we're gonna do here is we spin this new funnel, this new filter on by hand until it makes contact with the base. Okay, so we're just starting to make contact where it's just touching. So now I'm gonna dry my hand because I'm trying to get some grip. Concrete truck going by. I wondered what was making that noise. So now we're just gonna grab it really good and just turn it by hand. Hand tighten it only. Don't use a tool. Do not use your oil filter wrench. That is plenty tight. Never had one leak. Just doing it by hand. So the oil filter's done. So now all we gotta do is drain our oil. If you have a regular Pilot, you would get your socket, the proper socket size out. Take your drain bolt out and drain your oil. I have a Fumoto valve on this. If you aren't familiar with those, it's a substitute for your regular drain bolt, where it all you have to do is turn a valve to drain your oil. You don't have to mess with the drain bolt. We're gonna probably clean this stuff up later, so I don't take up your time with that. So I'm gonna slide this under here. My drain bolt from this oil filter is straight down and over about a foot is all. I had a drop of oil from our filter drip onto my oil drain pan. So here, if you want me to get it. So here I am under the car. You can see the oil filter right there where I'm pointing. And then right down here under the car, this is where your drain bolt's gonna be that you would loosen to drain your oil. And then you'd replace your crush washer and put the drain bolt back on after the oil's drained. Since I have a Fumoto valve, spelled F-U-M-O-T-O, I have a video on how to install those on my channel. And I'm just gonna line my drain pan up with the bottom of this valve, because it's gonna go wherever I put it. So it's gonna go right there. And I'm going to take this valve right here, pull it towards me and rotate it up, and there's my oil. And that's how easy it is. So I will just let that drain now. So we'll let that drain and check back in with you. Let me show. This Fumoto valve is down to a extremely light drip, but it is still dripping. So you could stop it at this point and go ahead and close it. Some oil is just barely dripping now. So we're gonna close that valve. And we do that again by pushing in the spring-loaded valve. We're gonna push in and rotate down. And that is gonna close the valve just like that. All right. Okay, so now that our oil is drained and we've cleaned up everything and our valve is closed and our filter is on, now we're gonna put our last wheel back on. we need to add our oil. And so what we're going to do now is go ahead and get the car off of the jack stands. "94 foot-pounds of torque." So I go ahead and I have my torque wrench, and I've got it set, probably can't see, but 94 foot-pounds. Got my 21 millimeter socket on there for my wheels. Got my wheel key on there. So all I do is turn this until it clicks one time, and then it's done. So that's it. So then I skip a lug nut. Skip the lug nut. Okay, that one's done. Okay, so this vehicle takes 5.7 quarts. I've changed the oil enough to know that I can just go ahead and trust that and put in exactly 5.7. I have this 2-quart pitcher I bought where I marked tenths of quarts. Sometimes I have to rewrite it on there with a marker, but so I'm gonna first, this is a oil that was left over from my last oil change, and I'm hoping I have 0.7 in there because I have this in a 5-quart jug. Okay, look at that, perfect. So we're gonna put this in, and then I'm not gonna have to use this pitcher for the other 5 quarts because that's what this is, an unopened 5-quart jug. So this worked out perfect. If it didn't, I would just, you know, do the 1.7 and then 2 and 2, and I'd have my 5.7 quarts. But in this case, this is all I have to do. So we're gonna go put this in and this in. So on this vehicle, the oil fill is really down in there. It's really far down in there. Kind of strange, but so what I do is reach down in here. I've already loosened that cap so the oil would drain better. I always just kind of wipe it off real good so that when we put it back on, everything's good and clean. Just gonna set that right here. And then I have this kind of funnel I bought just so it would fit really securely down in there without having to put my funnel down there. I like my funnel up here where I can see it. It's kind of a neat funnel. It's got a little filter in the bottom of the funnel so it would catch anything that wasn't supposed to be in there. So now I just fill it up, 5.7 quarts. Taking off the little foil seal inside the cap. It's got a little thing on the funnel for you to hold. The handle, I always just make sure it's in the hole, and then I don't pour it in too fast. I just kind of pour steady. Okay, so that's all of our oil. Give that oil a few seconds to kind of drain out. I try to get my rag down in there where as soon as I lift the oil out of the port there, I'm kind of grabbing the end of it so I'm not dripping oil. Kind of keep all this together. Keep oil off of things. And we'll take our cap, put it back on. You don't really want to over tighten these. Just put it on there snug where it's on there, but you're not really bearing down on it. All right, so that completes our oil change. Okay, so now we're gonna reset our maintenance minder. So we're gonna start the car up. And over here, I'm gonna hit the home button. I'm gonna go to settings. I'm gonna go to vehicle. I'm gonna go down to maintenance information. I wanna reset my engine oil. I don't know why it says unable, because it does, it resets it. So our oil change and everything are done. And this job is done. So please remember to look in the video description for links and helpful tips. And so I hope this video has been helpful for you.